people are a little bit vague on what training they undertake and what they're capable of doing once trained.
Well, I mean, the short message on that is that special constables are trained as constables and they have the powers of a constable.
How many weeks training do specials go through, and how many weeks training do a fully fledged police officer go through? What's the difference between the two? Because there is a difference, isn't there?
It normally takes a special longer to get to...
No, that's not the question.
It
The
normally
amount of
takes
full training between a special and the amount of full training between a regular police officer.
If you know the answer.
No, I wanted to come from you, personally.
It normally takes a special longer to get to independent patrol than it does to constable.
Could you answer?
Yes.
Commissioner, if I can explain specials, what people have to understand, general and police officers have to understand, is two distinct different roles. Direct answer to your question is a probation period for a police constable is 2 years. It's approximately 10 weeks intensive training in our police college. Then they come out on the street to be tutored by a tutor constable, and then a couple of courses across a 2-year period where they get additional training in a number of issues. Special constables now receive 2 weeks intense training, so they attend our police training college at Chelmsford for a week's block, and then they come back for another week's block, and then they have a tutor constable that they're assisted through. And there's been a number of changes over recent times around that, increasing the number of specials, because what I will be doing with those, and tasking then out to Alan for his team and the other teams that I have for West Essex, is those special constables will be doing exactly what every member of the public here and every resident in Harlow will want them to be doing. They'll be on the streets. Now, you only need a certain amount of training to go out, to wear the uniform, to patrol, to arrest people for antisocial behaviour issues, for assaults or for minor traffic offences. The additional training that police officers get if they're a regular paid employee is because they have to do with a whole raft of different serious offences and have to know policy and procedure. They have to know how to create a criminal justice file. That is not what I want as a senior commander. It's definitely what not the Commissioner wants, is for special constables to be in police stations completing files. That's why there's a huge disparity in terms of the training school from 1997 to 2000, and there's 3 additional members on that team now. So yes, we have had an increase. The gentleman was correct in terms of there was 35 police community support officers, but that was for all of my area. That was for Harlow, Epping, Loughton, Wolfmerry and Brentwood. So we have had a reduction here in police community support officers. We've gone from 17 down to 6. But some real key points that I'm sure you would want to know. Yes, the people that we've had to let go, and we had to let 150 go for the county in March, they was doing some fantastic stuff. As you said, sir, running football clubs, running fishing clubs. We've had to step back now and ask, was that the right thing to do? Do we need to address that differently? Because whilst some of my good people were doing that, and to be perfectly honest, I was not aware that they was doing that, some fantastic community engagement there. But there wasn't tackling, because the young people that were turning up to go fishing, to put on a football kit, were not the young people that are in the, hanging on street corners causing problems. So it's about using the resource that the Commissioner has provided me in the best possible way.
Sean
Stephen Mullard, Councillor for Staple Time. Are you comfortable relying on unpaid police officers to do the work? Personally, I know that's the situation we're in, but would you rather see fully paid police officers out there if the budget...
If I could have additional police officers, would I put them on the streets of Harlow to tackle antisocial behaviour? No, I wouldn't. I'd be putting those police officers to tackle people that are significantly assaulting people in their homes, being that vulnerable females, vulnerable males. I'd be sending them to tackle people that are tackling young, vulnerable children. Tackling antisocial behaviour and reassurance and community feeling in the town, I'd have as many special constables as the Commissioner will give me. And the reason for that is exactly what I just said. And I know that from experience. I served as a special constable in this town. Some colleagues were in the room with me for 3 years before I became a constable in this town as well. So I know exactly from experience, not just from the textbook, what a special constable can actually do in relation to that. And yes, I would have as many as I could, because I can have them in their yellow jackets, out there on the streets, not sitting in a custody block, not putting together a criminal justice file, not, again, the skills that another police officer would have, specialist trained officer, terrorist officer. If a significant dignitary comes to the town elsewhere, we have to shift our resource to police that. We don't do that with specials. The specials that Mr Hurst will give me will be policing Harlow for the people of Harlow.
Thank you.
Can
I
they
promised
go
I'd
out
go to
on
the
their
guy.
own?
Forum for that. Him and I can discuss cuts to a blue and red in the face respectively, but actually this is about ensuring that the police are
Well, what we need
respected.
to do here is
Yeah, exactly right. My question really, and you probably know I'm going to ask this question, it's something I discussed with you during the campaign, is about the police that you've got. We have had cuts to policing, we know that. What are you doing to ensure that we support the police we've got? The question that I raised during the campaign was about police having their rest days cancelled. Now, we saw the horrendous murder in the Stowe, and our heart obviously goes out to the family of the victim and their friends. And rightly so, you've ensured that there's more policing in that area. My concern is if you're giving police more shifts, that they're having their rest days cancelled, sometimes at short notice, which I think is going to affect the morale of those police remaining. So my question really to you is, what, as Police Inquiry Commissioner, can you do you think you will do, to ensure you obviously help with the morale of policing? I would obviously emphasise making connection with the Police Federation, as you know, but it's about, what are you doing to ensure that we are helping the police that remain to do their job as effectively and as efficiently as they possibly can.
I think you make a good point, Hamilton, with the representative body for the broad spread of policing and understand what their issues are. And I think that helps. Certainly helped me have some conversations with the Chief Officer Group about how we can put better pastoral and management care in place. And there's actually some quite good work being done, I think, in terms of helping. So we're actually getting the sickness rate down quite well, I think, across the force. It's at a low now, but it hasn't been for quite a few months.
So will you make a commitment to meet regularly with the Police Federation? So
Oh, yes.
Your predecessor,
Oh, yes.
I don't want to criticise, but didn't do as much.
I know, I've already made that commitment to them
That's good.
already. And I'm keen to keep on doing so.
Yeah.
And I think that there
Would it not be to make sure you've got enough officers in the first place, so that the police wouldn't feel that they were under pressure and having their days cut?
I agree with you. And, we can argue about the cuts, but I
I
think
thought it was, I must be very slow. I thought this was consultative, but then I went the next day to the Stowe and I saw a notice asking for volunteers for active policing. Active police person, active citizen, that's what it was called.
Yep.
So I wonder, this would be another layer of people who are working voluntarily in our business. Could you elaborate a little bit about what this means and how you envisage it? Because I was a little puzzled.
I think I'm in a good position to answer your question
Thank
because I actually started Active Citizen in Essex. It was mine to start off. Basically, Active Citizen is purely and simply about volunteers working with a local authority for the benefit of the community. I don't think it's defined anywhere, but that was the best I could come up with. We had a scheme running in Colchester, Operation Home Guard, and it was purely and simply that, people coming in, working with the police, in fluorescent jackets, going out, delivering leaflets about burglary, and we thought, well, this works, this is good for the people that are doing it, because young people now are going to need something on their CV around volunteering, and it's good for the community. And it's the sort of thing that they were doing that just wouldn't get done. This wasn't replacing police officers. The work they were doing would not get done if they didn't do it. So we're rolling that out across Essex, and sure enough, we're rolling it out across Harlow to bring people into the policing community and say, okay, what are your skills? Maybe you don't want to go and knock on doors and advise about burglaries and delivering leaflets. Have you got IT skills? Do you want to come in and clean cars? Well, I don't know. That's the honest answer, is until we get people in and we see their skills and we see how they want to volunteer with us, I don't know what they'll be doing. But I'm fairly sure there'll be a role for most people, and I would encourage people to get involved.
And I would say as well, I think it's pretty key that we do this, because so there's Peter, maybe an implicit criticism that we're asking the public to do too much. Actually, if you go back to Sir Robert Peel, he was very clear about the fact that the police are the public are the police. It's just the police wear the uniforms and do officially what we all need to do. And I think one of the issues we've had over the last few years has been with the police's increasing focus on high harm, on really violent and organised criminals. We've got an increasing gap between the police and the public. And I know that a lot of these guys don't actually get to see the public other than when they are either misbehaving very badly or in crisis because someone's misbehaved very badly towards them. That gives quite a poor impression of the general public. You and I know that 90% of the general public actually behave pretty well most of the time. And most of us think of the police as our friend. Most of us think that the police are someone we can trust and go to. We need to do that social knitting again.
I
And
think
things like the
It's
active
bringing the
citizen.
community together
It
across.
is,
This is,
it is.
it's just funny, I hadn't heard about that, but it's something I've got involved in with Harlow Council and the regeneration. I live in Catherine's and I've been trying to get, and it may be the most silliest thing to some people, but literally being proud of the area that you,
Absolutely.
and I've just sent an email today, so it's so ironic,
Yeah.
exactly about this, bringing.
It's not a new thing. It's something that's been running across Europe, all throughout England.
I've never heard
I
of
went
it.
into my doctors. Would you like to come in and not to me? Would you like to come in and volunteer and work on the front counter hospitals? The National Health are streets ahead of us on it. And I think if we didn't do something like that, we'd be missing a trick. We'd be missing the opportunity to get people into us and to share by the place. I think it's a good thing, and let's see where it takes us.
I agree with
But
that.
you need to put that in some
Yes,
context, though. I mean, it's not divorced from everything else that's going on.
No.
Essex County Council announced yesterday in your Harlow that over the next 4 years, they're going to reduce their budget by 84%. 84%.
Sorry, I can clarify that for you if you like.
Because business rate retention is going to come in.
So, and the
Which is
whole
gonna-
Business rate retention, at the moment, councils are funded partly through council tax and partly through a thing called revenue support grant, which comes from central government. It is the declared policy of the government to use local taxes to pay for local services. At the moment in Essex, across the piece, including Southend and Thurrock, we raise about 725 million in business rates. We only retain 265 million of that. The rest of it goes to fund something else elsewhere in the country. If Essex could retain 100% of its business rates, we wouldn't have a funding problem.
That's not yet, but
But that is not going to happen.
this isn't a
because
secret pot of cash and light at the end
it's
of
not
the
a secret.
rainbow.
It's not a secret pot of cash because that money has been spent elsewhere in the country. Yeah, and it is probably quite rightly going to fund worse areas of vulnerability, poverty, and distress than we have here in Harlow. Yeah, Harlow is actually quite a nice place.
You need
Certainly.
to walk around that. No
No,
disrespect
I have,
to you.
I have.
Yeah, you know, there's homeless people who are living in tents.
Yes.
And we've got
I'm
some
not
of that-
saying that we don't have problems. I'm just saying that there are issues in other areas of the country which are worse. Yeah? Now, actually, what we need to do is, it's not a question of can we keep all of the business rates here and suddenly solve all our funding problems, but what is the point in paying 2/3 of what we raise to central government to pay administrators to count it and reorganise it and reallocate it? They should simply be top slicing the bit they need for the rest of the country rather than taking it and
A
paying
little
it back.
bit about crime prevention, but it doesn't seem a huge amount. I wonder if you could elaborate more on what you're talking about crime prevention. For example, I don't see any mention here, maybe it's implied, about the work you're going to do as the police and crime commissioner yourself and also your deputy with schools and working with schools with crime prevention. The other question, again, you probably know this one's coming, and it does refer back to specials, I apologise. I was accused of mudslinging when I asked you about special constables. As you know, that wasn't my intention at all.
No.
But really what I want to know is, you know, I agree there's a set budget, you have to spend it as wise as you can, and specials are a good way of doing that because they don't cost money. But my
Question
question
is cost of training.
yes,
If they do, can I tell them off, because I generally do? Do I get in trouble if I take a picture of them when they're doing rubbish?
Depends for what purpose, doesn't it, really?
To report them to the police when they're doing that?
If you've used it for that purpose, then you can demonstrate.
Yeah, no, I'll
You
delete
already
it
have
if
to
they
do
do as they're asked. If they don't do as they're asked, then I'll take their picture. Am I going to get in trouble for that?
No, I agree. I think
My
that's
question-
more of what we
Okay,
Can
let's-
I just finish my question? The only question I was going to, it wasn't on point, so absolutely not. My question was just, do you think that the...
No.
accept it though as
Yes, we do. We don't
Just
record
avoid
it.
it.
The other week, before I went on holiday, there was Eastern Europeans having a massive fight outside on the main road outside my house, with metal poles. I woke up the following morning, my whole path, my front garden, the only one. So if they've got a turf war, I really object to the fact that they did it on my front garden. It was my front garden, nobody else's. They put their blue and white stripes around it. My parents arrived because we were going on holiday, thinking myself and my children had been murdered. With a police car outside, I gathered the man had been beaten up with metal poles going down the street, Eastern European, I thought like Russian, but big fellas having their turf war. We hear a lot of rows going though, from Bearcroft down to Safe and Tide. They walk past with their alcohol, their drinks. It's very intimidating. They had CRD outside my house looking at the site. I've not heard one single word not one police officer has come or contacted me in my home to say what happened to that man, or from the phone calls to myself and the neighbours that go. That man, I gather, was from the newspaper in hospital with life-changing injuries. I've not heard any more about it. The fact that you cordoned off my house, that didn't even have the courtesy to talk to me, leaving me there, a widow with 2 sons and my grandchild at home. The people next door have got disabled children. Talk about putting a red bullet around just the one house, none of the others. The man was found down at Staple Tyre. You know, makes you a bit edgy. I've not heard any more.
I can take your details afterwards and get you some sort of an update, but it's not the sort of
Still
thing
the point is, that's happening.
Yeah, we've heard this 20 years ago, exactly the same. Just a replay.
What the ladies say,
I don't like it, but it's true.
CSO who used to do that area, and he was on top of all the people hanging around the shops.
Sorry, I missed you. PCSO, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so down at Staple Tyre, it's actually quite poor. I mean, in Longbanks, my son was attacked down there, a youngster, because they've got the Longbanks crew that think they're out and drunk. You've not heard any more about the man that was murdered at Staple Tyre, who was stabbed. There's been a couple of incidents with women being attacked down there sexually. I walked home the other night and I've never been scared. First time I was scared, 3 drunks sitting outside the BP garage. Now, I wouldn't get in touch with the police, but I had to find my son to get me. But I'm more worried about my son than I am myself. So alcohol is a big issue around Staple Tyre.
Drugs.
And there are too many shops selling stuff.
Yes.
And the local PCSOs were on top of it, and you scrapped
I think we need to focus on the actual problems that we've got now and try and work out whether we're on top of them, whether we do we
I don't
have
think
a
you are.
plan for this sort of area.
At Staple Tyre,
I
I mean, I go there
you see, I call that low level now, and that's
Yeah.
awful. I call that low level. I get my car kicked because they walk down the car, because I said, why'd you come out? Because they get a wing and kicked on. I wouldn't dream of reporting it to the police.
But we do need for that to be reported, we
we
really
don't
do.
feel-
But you reported it and I've not heard any more.
If we don't know about it, we can't do it. Which is self-defeating. So it's a vicious circle, it needs breaking.
This is what these police officers
The instance that you've been reporting, massive quality of life issues. So we still need to know, be it through contacting the community team, through the system, emailing in, if there's an issue with drunks sitting outside the BP station at Staple Tyre in some way. Will I send an officer to 3 men sitting there who are drunk and putting people at ease? The honest answer is no. Will I then still ask you to
But you
report
might
it?
if I was raped as I was walking
No,
down the
but
street.
Madam, if I
or
explain,
something like
I need to know if that's a continual problem, that we get additional calls coming in and it's there, because then what will happen is Alan with his team at his planning meeting will then look, how many calls in the community are we getting to a particular area? There is a problem there. 1 or 2 calls for an area, that will not flag up or generate resources to
So
do
I'm
that.
now going to ask you a really probably maybe a difficult question because you wasn't there at the time. So I was at Bush Fair today.
Yes.
I was talking to a few local. What comes up is the drunks and everything else. And one of the classic ones that one of the businesses said to me today, because I told him I was coming to a meeting, and he said, I can't attend, I've got other commitments. Bear in mind, I'd only told him today. So one of the conversations was about the drunks who vacate from between the Chinese takeaway and Boots the Chemist. And he said, there was the police officers and the 2 Polish,
Yes.
yeah, went up to the said drunken person with the can of Stella in his hand and, all right, mate, see you later. Now, what does that show you and what does it show all the youngsters and the police? The big signs, and I've got pictures on my phone if you'd like to see them, no spikes. So there's a policeman riding through on his little bike. There's adults riding through. There's drunks sitting there and 3 police officers go up and pat him on the back. What does that show you? So I would feel, what's the point of sending an email to 101?
Well, we need to know that, to know what those community problems is.
If I was there, I would have got his badge numbers.
What's really important to know is it's not, unless there's a drinking banning order in place, it's not an offence to drink alcohol in public. It's not an offence to be drunk in public. And this is if it then becomes disorderly, that's what we then have to deal with. That's why we need the information to assess to see if there's an ongoing problem, and then we can look at
Well,
that.
evidently it is, because when I was talking to a few of the business owners, they said, yes, I often come up to open up and there's 3 drunk and homeless people sleeping up against my shutters.
I think I need to go to the lady in the stripy t-shirt. She's been eager.
Right, what's,
Sorry, I'm trying to be fair.
what I'd like to say, what's the joke about all this is even when you report things, the Hollow Force don't want to know on a number of issues. They turn a blind eye to it, allow people to do drugs in the local area, knowing they're doing drugs, turn a blind eye to it, let people get attacked. I've been attacked. Do you want to know something? Your officers came and arrested my family over the fact I was attacked. And nothing was ever done about that. And then you dropped it and never ever got an apology. Because a neighbour then attacked my sister. How on earth was that allowed to happen? Then you dropped it, even though a neighbour gave evidence that these people have been causing trouble. They dropped it, even though a neighbour had witnessed it. There was insufficient evidence. The neighbour witnessed the racial abuse, the constant racial abuse of what's happening in Potter Street is disgusting. And nothing is done. Nothing is done. I'm not the only resident within my area that feels like it. There's a number of residents. We, the young people, and the older people, well, are disillusioned. We're disillusioned because the force don't want to do anything when you report things. Example, I know somebody that had a non-molestation order against the ex-partner. Over 200 phone calls before you even, and he broke the order over 200 times before you even took that person to call. They broke a non-molestation order over 200 times. Stalking, coming near, trying to attack. Nothing was ever done. This area is changed. It used to be something we all looked up to. Nowadays it's an area people want answers to because the police don't want to do anything about the drugs, about the hate crime. The constant hate crime within the area is disgusting. I know somebody, my mother was told she belongs in a gas chamber. The local police did nothing. I'm sorry.
I'll comment that,
And there was some
I'll
others.
respond to you in a second. I will respond to that because I view every hate crime that comes into
Can you explain what
hate crime is a crime that's motivated by hate, whether it's somebody's race, religion, or sexual orientation. So
it's not just a hate crime, just to violently attack any all kinds of hate crime.
No, but the specific definition that the lady's talking about is a crime motivated by race in this instance. Now, listen, everybody, can I just say, can we have one conversation? It makes it a lot easier. So I'll answer this lady first and I'll come back to you. No, let me answer you.
Alan, just for a minute.
Neela, please, I must get an answer out. There is no point having a two-way dialogue.
Okay.
Exactly. Please let the Chief Inspector speak.
First of all, what you're telling me, the accounts of there's lots of things there. I can't answer everything. I think we need to meet afterwards. And if there's some way that we've let you down, I will do my very best to put it right. Okay? I was going on to say that I view every hate crime that comes in to reported to us. Nowhere have I seen anything about a gas chamber. With my heritage, I would have noticed that. I would certainly have got hold of it. Okay? There's a lot of things happening that aren't coming to us. A lot of things aren't reported to us for whatever reason, and I'm going to do my very best to set up hate crime centres where people can report crimes to us without speaking to a police officer. I don't necessarily need to know who the victim is, but I need to know what's happening to address it. We'll speak afterwards and I'll do what I can for you, okay?
Thank you.
And sorry, I cut across you, my apologies.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, you know, the exact. I think sometimes racial hatred and that is actually fuelled by our language.
Yes.
Like
yes.
a race, it's a race hate. You know, some people are just nasty, and you know, someone might pick on someone. They might be black. They might be.
I was a bit frightened about somebody wearing that T-shirt outside a particular meeting, and I reported that. I went to the police station and reported. I mean, the person who was wearing the T-shirt wasn't charged because he was wearing a T-shirt. However, I do, because they were good enough to let me know what happened as a result, that I think it probably contributed to a case because he'd committed other crimes. Oh. So it was logged and it added to the picture. So no, you won't somebody's not going to get put in, but you know,
No.
charge, but it might add to a picture, and that's the kind of information you need.
Absolutely. Now I go to the lady in brown with the glass.
Because you've done 20 more offences, and you've only got 30 people in the police committee. How is 30 people meant to
Stop that going up, basically.
stop it from increasing? Because I'm a 15-year-old and I'm quite scared to walk home from school because it's getting darker now, and I don't see any police officers at all.
I think you came in a bit later. We'd actually been through quite a lot of this before.
I'll highlight all of them every day.
And we've learned to, we
But we
sort of have
accept
to
it.
deploy someone now within our night session. Even our young people say they're at the fence. As soon as they know they're at the fence, they all start walking around, shutting the windows, because they know they're going to come up the windows, blinds are being brought. That's the 13, 14, 15-year-olds I've got inside the building. No, that's how they have to behave.
Yeah,
And they know that I will not allow any of them
And the
to
sea
walk home.
cadets as well.
Because if
we
they
have the
walk
same
home, they're
thing.
picked off as they're walking home alone at 9:30. So we don't allow any of us to walk
But you're
home.
still getting people say that these young kids in the Stowe are still there at 9:30, 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night.
Well,
You
these
read
lads,
this on the moaning page.
yeah, these
You
lads
read
that
this.
I'm with, and
You
they
know.
are just a small group of
Yeah.
lads, and I could name some of them.
They are,
I've looked
yes.
them up.
People
They're there
complain
at
about
12,
them
1
and
o'clock at
phone
night.
about them. I phoned about them as well.
You know who they are as well, don't you?
Yeah, I'm there every day to check that the police is there, and police is not there.
I know.
I am there for hours.
Can we maybe, can we take this offline
Absolutely.
afterwards and have a conversation with, I'm sorry,
A visible incident that's happened in the Stowe. So, and now the police presence in the Stowe is now winding down. I mean, I was in the Stowe today, and whereas when I was in the Stowe last week, there were police around. I was in the Stowe today, I didn't see it. I mean, I wasn't there for very long, but I didn't see a big or policewoman present. So my question is, well, okay, now what plan have you got in place, or have you got a plan in place to communicate with the residents of the Stowe and the surrounding area? Given that the police presence is now withdrawing, then what is the plan? You know, how do you reassure them, and how do you engage with the residents to be saying, well, okay, should there be further incidents or whatever, then this is the process that you need to do. So, for example, as far as tonight's meeting is concerned, there were no advertisements.
Early on after the incident in the Stowe, we had the vigil and the march, and the problem youth element was no longer in the Stowe, it was in the town centre, and we made arrests that day while the march was going on in the town centre. So we've recognised that, and we've addressed that, and also where it's moved over to the town park area, exactly as you say, and that's something
It's
that will
always
get
been
our
a town
attention.
park. It's always been
But
a thing.
more so now.
It's
And
always been.
we're seeing the faces, and this isn't a new thing. I can go back 10 years and say, well, these individuals we addressed in this area have just moved.
They've always been at the same
We
time.
solved nothing there. So I'm recognising what you're saying is what I'm trying to say in a
Yeah.
clumsy way. I am recognising
Yeah.
what you're saying.
And they should be able to go somewhere, don't get me
But
wrong.
Further to that,
Kids to do.
we've worked
There is
with
a lot to do, to be frank.
There is.
There's a lot to do in this
There's
town.
more to when I was a child. You did.
Obviously, we've got a 12-week action plan specifically for the Stowe, and I would like to move this away from the Stowe, this discussion. I will start with the Stowe. We're starting by surveys with shopkeepers, surveys with local residents, and this is set out over the coming 12 weeks to say, okay, what have we got wrong, what do we need to address? And there will be meetings come up. I've already mentioned the reporting centres we're setting up. We had the public meeting about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, in this building to say, okay, and you were there, come and talk to us, and there'll be more of that. There will be more engagement. My officers are going into the Stowe, but there comes a time where I don't want to see 2 police officers every day in the Stowe, and the public are telling us, and the shopkeepers are telling us, we don't want what we've currently got. So we've got to work out a way of a way to move forward. We've got to work out a way that we can talk, and you have my assurance that we are working on that now as part of the 12-week plan. So that is coming up, and that's in short what I wanted to say to you, that we're not interested in moving the problem on and displacing it. We've got to come some way to address it. We can't do it on our own. Somebody mentioned earlier parenting. well, you know, my little boy's not going to be allowed out on his own until he's 29.
No.
You know, so
Because my son's not allowed
no,
out.
and it is, you know, and I see
It's
young
parental control.
young
Yeah.
children
Just
of 12 out in
15-year-olds,
hours
yeah.
of darkness,
The
and
point
I
I'm
can't understand.